Hello everyone, I am Sitashma and I am going to fill the first page of my sketchbook with some delicious food. You are welcome to grab your sketchbook, pens and watercolor and join along with me. I'll also share a few tips along the way, so let's get started. I bought this sketchbook ages ago, but it was always overwhelming to start a new one. Today is finally the day. We are starting with a burger. Before I draw, I like to make tiny dots to measure the height and width of the object, as you can see in the reference image. It helps me match the proportion and center everything nicely. I especially use this technique when I use a pen and it is not erasable. This does not have to be super precise. Think of it as gentle guidelines. Once I am happy with the dot and the spacing, I start drawing the outline. It's a great practice to use a pen while drawing because that way you will not keep overthinking and erasing your mistakes, wasting time on small details. Here, as you can see, I'm not adding every single small details and will leave some details to the watercolor part. I'm just making some basic outlines. Next up, I'm making a stack of pancakes on a plate. Again, I'm using the dot method to quickly block out the spaces. Here you can see that the height is 3/4 the size of the width. Let's now outline the pancake with all the curves. There are 3 pancakes sitting on the right side, whereas 4 on the left side. You have to watch your reference photo carefully when you are doing your outlines. We have 2 objects in this reference photo, the pancake and the plate. So now I'll have to measure the second object with respect to the first one. I measure where the plate comes at. It's a little above the halfway between the 2 pancakes. I use my free hand to fill up the remaining details, some berries on the plate, and will leave the rest to the watercolors. While I was having fun making the berries, something happened. I smudged the pen with my hand. Next up, I'm making a banana. I'm first measuring the straight height and then making another dot to the left side to make the curve. After doing the basic outline, I add another dot somewhere in the middle of the banana for the peel. It's easier to think in basic shapes, so I think of it as a triangle and make the measurements. I slowly complete the outline of the banana. And next up, we'll make some dessert. I still have 2 more sketches before we start the painting, and if you are working along with me, let me know if this was helpful. While measuring the dots, you can use your hand to measure if you have a photo or you are looking from a phone or an iPad, or you can also use the pen that you are drawing from. This picture actually has a single item but is detailed with all of its dark parts and shadows. It has a cream spread on top of it as well, but I want to keep it simple because I'm so excited to already use watercolor on this paper. So we'll leave this with minimal detail and move on to the next one. Next, and the last food item on the page, we have a plate filled with foods. This picture has a lot going on, so we'll first sketch the bread that's on the top. This way we can measure the second bread with reference to the first one. After the 2 bread toast, now we'll outline the egg and then the cherries. I don't know if these are cherries or tomatoes, whatever these are. Few last minute detail, and this is how my pen illustration looks right now. I am so excited to use watercolors. I used burnt sienna for the burger. You can try and match colors according to your reference or even use some basic browns and reds and yellows, and the illustration will look very vibrant. Here, after I applied the color, I cleaned the brush and used a damp brush to lighten the parts. This will take away the paint from the paper and gives you some lighter areas. I absolutely love this method of taking away pigment from the paper because as a person who works a lot with acrylic colors, it's very difficult for me to keep in mind that I should be using a lighter color before the darker ones when I use watercolor. You will see me doing this a lot of times. Just now I used a damp brush to take away a little pigment from the yellow cheesy part because it was overflowing. For the longest time, using watercolor was really stressful for me because I used to be aware of my mistakes like this. It's been a few weeks that I enjoy watercolors, and this technique has been a game changer for me. I usually layer colors when I need a darker value, but sometimes I also use a different shade. With this stack of pancake, I use the same technique. I use this yellow ochre color and use a general base color that I see as a mid-tone. I clean my brush or use another clean damp brush to take off pigment from the areas that I want lighter. After it dries a little bit, I layer another layer for the shadow or more darker areas. While you are painting, don't worry if it looks flat at first. Watercolor is all about layering. Also, try leaving tiny white areas for the highlights. And if you are using the technique that I talked about, lifting the pigment from the paper, always do this while the paint is still wet. I used grey for the plate, but I think this is a little darker pigment. This might be my favorite part. First, I use a bright yellow for the egg yolk because that was the brightest part in the reference photo, and this could be used as a reference for other items on the plate. For the bread, I'm using a mix of yellow ochre and a bit of burnt sienna. The edges of the bread is almost burnt sienna, but the middle part of the bread is a mix of yellow ochre as well. I let it dry for a bit and then add a thin line on the edge. Then I add some small details with the same color. Since the edges of the egg is also burnt, I was doing while I remembered. The small detail was supposed to be a leaf. A green leaf in the reference. I don't know what that was, but I painted brown. It's okay. I added some black sprinkles and I painted another toast in the same way. I am painting this cherry / tomato, and for the stem I think I did a little darker green, so I tried to remove the pigment and the brush was a little, so the pen smudged. This could happen, so make sure that your brush is damp and not wet. Now for this cinnamon roll, I again violated the watercolor rule. I applied the darker colors first, but since we prioritize our enjoyment and the process above the rules, this was not much of a big deal. I later used a lighter color and this looked quite good. Not as good, but I was happy. This has to be my least favorite one from the page. What do you guys think? Which one do you think looks the most appealing to eat? Last but not least, we have banana. My brush should not have crossed the boundary, but it did, and we are trying to mend it. Here I am trying to spread the paint with a wet brush. Now add in some green color to the banana peel, as we can see in the reference. I think this was a little darker green. So now I am trying to blend this, take off a little bit of pigment and see what I can do. If you are painting along with me, tag me in my Instagram and I will love to see your work. Also, if you enjoyed this paint with me, I will love to make more videos because I enjoyed this process. And don't forget to hit the like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.